Hey, CK here. This video is intended for children ages 14 and older in the company of an adult. It contains intense ideas including slavery, animal cruelty, and captivity. Viewer discretion is advised. Welcome. If you are new here, please subscribe and click the notification bell. Share to all your social media. Thumb up the video. Really appreciate the support. Thank you. If you are returning, welcome home. And please do the same. Season 2, episode 10, it changed a lot of things. It gave us a lot of information. In this scene, Jade has already walked into the cave. He looked around. It's almost like he's transported to what I believe is the past. 7 of the ghoulish children on slabs of rock with Jade in the middle. What this reminds me of is the scene where Victor was in the caves and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 like boxes. Where Jade is, there's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This scene where Jade is transported to what I believe is the past. This is what the pictures on the wall were referencing. And then even the symbol in the middle is just what Jade looks up and sees. Here, this ritual, this experiment, this thing, the middle of the cave drawings or like some type of experiment where people came on boats, like we said in the previous video. They came on boats. There were all these little portals around, here, all the regular portals. Maybe those are faraway trees. Maybe those are just regular portals that you can walk into. And then you enter into Fromville from like the main portal where somewhere up in here would be like where the tree is. Where once you enter into Fromville, whether it's by boat, by driving, or even walking, there's no way to go back the way you came. It's like a one-way street. This ritual with the children or people being here, some people are being put on these rocks for the ritual. Here and here, they're now combined or holding hands as if they're connected. So something else that we've seen where people become connected after a process or an experiment is the movie Us. The writers of the writers of Lost, they were inspired by a lot of horror genres. Us was one of the inspirations I think that they looked at in the movie, and spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, you should really check it out. In the movie, the US government or some type of entity did an experiment where they created doppelgangers of everybody in the United States and had them underground. The idea was that the doppelgangers were controlled by the people topside, and for some reason the experiment got abandoned and all of the doppelgangers were just underground, mimicking what their counterparts were doing above ground. One of the characters shown here, she traded places with her doppelganger years ago in the movie, and the main part of Us is her being the real regular person, leading the doppelgangers above ground to take their rightful place by unaliving the people that they were mimicking or that they were tethered to. And so the scissors was symbolic of duality and cutting the tether that attached the doppelgangers that were underground with the people who were topside. What we're witnessing is some type of transferring of power, and it's done here at the symbol. And I believe this is associated with time travel, connecting with a parallel universe and the pocket universe of From, maybe to get people who are connected past this entity to over here to perhaps do something else. But it just appears that this painting is kind of like a depiction of a process that happened before the events of From that we're watching, where everything seems to be linear, where people come, they go past the main portal, they figure out this process right here. As events go on, they get past whatever large entity or creature is controlling the From pocket universe, and they're able to somewhat escape or gain power. I believe this whole ritual events is not necessarily to exit From, but the process is to perhaps gain immortality. take someone else's life force or their youth. I think the person of choice to get this from would be the children. And so in draining the children of their energy, of their life force, it turns them into ghouls. Ghouls have been a type of creature that feeds on things that are deceased. This formation, the focal point is the center here where we see Jade. If you're going to drain energy from people or something and you're in the middle, the people who are on the slabs could just get up and run away. And none of the children on these slabs are tied down, not forced to be there. They're just laying there, not moving, just saying Ankui in this flashback scene that we see. I don't think that whoever or whatever is doing these experiments or doing this ritual is necessarily in the middle. I think it would make more sense for them if they were doing something, and this is the formation, that the heads would be more towards in the middle to make it easier for the people to be controlled. If the entity or person is trying to do something like as far as having surgery or whatnot, the formation would be different, and then there'd be more space on the sides to do said surgery or some type of operation, kind of like in a hospital. Most of the time in a hospital where you have multiple patients, the beds are going to be in rows that are parallel to each other, with enough space to walk in between and do things to each participant or each patient. So what I'm believing is that the reason why the bodies are head towards the outside, slabs are real close together where it's not a lot of room to walk in between, is because whoever is performing this ritual or doing this process, they would be standing at the head of each person. Some type of energy, like radiation, is being put into each child or each person. And that's why they have the appearance of being cancer patients going through radiation therapy. And I think the reason why they're only able to say Nkui and was playing with Tabitha is because an entity or person was at their head. The entity or person did something similar to a lobotomy. The way the children are as far as appearance, they've been exposed to energy that's draining them and making them look like cancer patients. And they've also been given something similar to a lobotomy, which makes them docile. They're on the slab of rocks and not moving. I believe Nkui is similar to I am Groot. That Groot says I am Groot is an actual language, has different tonalities, a whole language, but just one word. The reason why I believe that they were given a lobotomy based off the scars that are on their head and their face. We'll return to this layout later on. It'll make more sense.
You're crazy. You don't know how many nights I've laid awake wishing that were true. How many times did you drive down that road today? How many hours did you spend in the car going in a straight line that somehow ended up being a circle? You saw those things outside.
No. I don't know what I saw.
That's what my sister said. God damn it, she was stubborn. How about a drink? Yep, I'm gonna pour you a drink. My sister, she was a real character. Not a woman to be trifled with, I'll tell you that. She'd kick the teeth off a bear if it looked at her sideways. Me and her, we were on a little hunting trip when we saw that goddamn tree in the road. That's right. Everyone sees the tree. These motherfucking crows. It was right before sunset. We'd already been driving half the day. There was a motel a few miles back. I said, why don't we grab a room, start fresh in the morning when the tree is cleared. But my sister didn't want the deer to spoil. Plus, we'd run out of beer. It was already dark when we got here. First time through, didn't even stop. Saw some folks in the road, drove right by. Second time through, one of them stood in front of the car. Wouldn't get out of the way. Just stood there, smiling. I thought my sister was gonna run this son of a bitch over. She never did have much patience for assholes. Instead, she grabbed her shotgun and got out of the car and started screaming at it, making all sorts of threats. But it just stood there, smiling. I'll never forget how I stood there. So still. And then it ripped her face off. Right in front of me. Ripped it clean off. Started skinning her with his hands in the street. Just like we used to skin those deer. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I just froze. And then I saw another one coming toward the car, and that's when I ran. I can't even tell you which direction I ran. They seemed to be everywhere. So I found a place to hide. Some bushes at the edge of the forest. Crawled into them and hid. That's what people used to do to survive here. They crawl into the bushes, or find a place to hide, and pray that they made it through till morning. So there I was, crouching in those bushes, and when the blood stopped pounding in my head, I realized I could still hear my sister screaming. They weren't just killing her, they were torturing her. Those things out there, they like to hunt. They like to play. So they were making it last.
Donna is explaining that Tabitha is from the point of view of a human witnessing a creature do this to another human. Just hear me out. When she said that her and her sister had skinned deers, imagine you're a deer witnessing Donna and her sister skinning another deer. When people tend to do things to animals, whether they're hunting them for sport or hunting them for food, the animal is not always completely unalive. The animal may just not be moving and may be paralyzed. So if you're a deer and you're watching two humans skin another deer, it could be described the way Donna has described what the creatures did to her sister in front of her. It traumatized her. It left a mark on her. When they did that to animals, they had a justification to it, a rationalization to it that they understood. But the deer would not understand that. The deer are probably asking themselves, why are they doing this to us? Why are they doing this to my friend, to my mom, to my dad? There are people out there that believe animals should not be hunted, should not be pets, and should be left alone. It is socially acceptable to have animals as pets and food, and sometimes just for sport. It's socially acceptable for that. There are groups and people who oppose that, but it's socially acceptable to domesticate wild animals and to have them as pets, food, and use them for other resources, and even wild plants for human use. You may have a dog, a cat, fish that are your quote-unquote pets, and you may love them, you may care for them, you may feed them and take care of them, maybe even give them a name. And we'll get into the whole naming ritual later on. You may do all those things, but understand that the way that you are domesticating this animal or this plant and that thought process of naming them, giving them clothes, taking care of them, if that animal, let's say a dog, were to break free from its leash and leave your property, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to go run after it because it belongs to you. You own this animal. It's no different than how people used to think about people who were enslaved during 1830 and earlier, back when it was antebellum slavery in America and a lot of other countries. They viewed enslaved people as property and like animals. They gave them a name, a different name than the one they came with. They domesticated them. They put them to work. They fed them. They clothed them. They gave them a place to live. If they left, they'd be forced to come back or they'd be unalived. So if you want to know how you'd be thinking in terms of if you were alive back when it was antebellum slavery, back when slavery was considered globally acceptable, think about how you view animal rights. Because again, from the point of view of the dog, who you have as a quote unquote pet, the dog may view itself as a slave. However, if the dog was raised in captivity and learned to be domesticated from birth, the dog wouldn't know it is a slave unless it meets a wild dog to compare itself to. So domestication is the process of adapting wild plants and animals for human use. Domestic species are raised for work, food, clothing, medicine, and many other uses. The 4 requirements for animal domestication are: domestic animals must be able to find food in and around human settlements, meaning they must have a diverse appetite. Domestic animals must mature rapidly in relation to a human lifespan. Domestic animals must be willing to breed in captivity. An animal must be docile by nature to be domesticated. A lot of you may be offended by what has just been said and what will be said. To completely understand the logic of Fromville, we have to understand that the humans that are being brought in from different parts of the United States through the portals, we'll just say the powers that be for now, they somewhat, in my opinion, view us as no different than animals. And that's the reason why they don't care. Because on a farm, when you have sheep, the sheep herder, the butcher, the meat packer, they don't care about the animals. They're a means to an end, meaning these animals have multiple uses that benefit humans, and their sacrifice means that we're able to prosper. And that's what I believe Fromville is. It's like a farm. What makes an animal easy to domesticate? Animals that make good candidates for domestication typically share certain traits, like they eat plant-based diets, which makes them inexpensive to feed. With humans, we tend to eat plants and meat. The animals on a farm, they're not able to really defend themselves or really take care of themselves. The animal that I'm going to equate humans to in Fromville are sheep. So sheep have natural predators: coyotes, wolves, foxes, bears, dogs, eagles, bobcats, mountain lions, things like that. Sheep are vulnerable to predators because they are basically defenseless and have no means of protecting themselves. Looking at it from the point of view of animals on a farm while they are periodically slaughtered. Mind you, as a society, the process to butcher a lamb has methods deemed humane way to slaughter and do different things with it, like get the milk and sheep shearing. All these different processes are socially acceptable, they're considered humane, and they're all a part of a greater good or a necessity. Now, sheep also can be used for medicinal purposes. The milk and even blood from sheep, including the lambs, are used for different types of anti-venoms for snakes and other things that we use that you wouldn't even know that that's where it came from. And there are animal rights groups that oppose this, and they create laws that makes it illegal in some places where you can't do it. When you have a farm in a jurisdiction that doesn't have those restrictions, whatever their byproduct is usually will be mixed in with medicine and different things that comes from socially acceptable means. You'll have no way of knowing that the anti-venom that you're using comes from sheep milk, lamb blood, or synthesized. My interpretation of Fromville is like a farm where the houses are like barns. So the boy in white, he has German shepherds that are with him. Those are like tending dogs that act as a living fence. If they perceive that you're going too far, they will be antagonistic to get you to turn around and go back towards the town or back towards the farm. And if they view you as wandering, looking for stuff, that's okay. They'll be friendly towards you. So the boy in white is a shepherd. I believe the boy in white is an angel that's trapped in the pocket universe, but the actual role of the boy in white would be like a shepherd, with the German dogs being tending dogs. The human adults, they're rams and ewes, which are adult sheep. The human children, they're lambs. The creatures, the music box, the cicadas, those are predators, i.e. wolves. These experiments, which we would consider to be barbaric, unethical, illegal, even immoral, we have to understand that we're looking at it from the point of view of humans. Whereas if we were humans doing this to lambs, monkeys, or other animals, even rabbits, the justification would be, well, we're using this to make medicine to cure cancer or fight cancer. We're using this to make a vaccine. We're doing this stuff for food. And when these processes are done to animals, they're not always given medicine to numb the pain. Most of the time they're yelling, they're screaming, and the person who's doing it is either desensitized to the yelling and screaming and what they're witnessing, or they may be wearing headphones. The slaughterers and meat packers in Fromville, which are like the voice on the radio, the crows, the voices talking to Sarah, I believe that they view us as animals, and that's why not only are they not trying to help us, but they don't really care that the people in Fromville are suffering. So in Christianity, the lamb represents Christ as both suffering and triumphant. It is typically a sacrificial animal and may symbolize gentleness, innocence, and purity. In addition, the lamb symbolizes sweetness, forgiveness, and meekness. So years ago, when scientists first began making snake antivenom, they used horses. They are large and have more blood to combat the snake venom than other animals. Over the years, they discovered that the blood of lambs is much better at fighting the venom. Now, from the lamb's point of view, this is horrible, it's barbaric, it's evil. But from our point of view of people who have benefited from the outcome of this thing done to lambs, the ends justify the means. And I believe it's no different with Fromville, with it being a farm and the houses are like barns. And even the boy in white, he wants to help, but his role is shepherd. So his role is to get you back to the town or back to the farm. I don't think the boy in white is either good or bad. I think the boy in white is just doing a job. That's why in season 1, the boy in white, when looking at Ethan can see him, the boy in white can see Ethan, and he's telling him to be quiet, don't tell anybody, because the boy in white's job is to look after the herd. It's all about keeping the herd together, making sure that they go back to the farm when it's time to go back, and being complicit with the slaughterers and meat packers who have something else to do in the process that benefits the overseers of this pocket universe. Let me know in the comment section your thoughts. Thumbs up the video, share to your social media, subscribe. Thanks for watching.
The future's not ours to see. Que sera?